day to remember. It was early in November in 1997. I was outside my house unlocking my car door when an old lady approached me and tapped on my shoulder. I turned around and wondered what she could want from me. "Hello, are you the man who was selling the nice Audi a few months ago?" she asked in a very polite voice. I nodded my head and replied, "Yes, that was me, but the car is sold, dear." She didn't look at all sad, but instead smiled and said, "Oh, good." I raised my eyebrow and looked puzzled as she started to walk away. Then she turned back around and spoke again. "Would you look at something I have, please?" I was curious and nervous as I walked along behind the old lady. She started rambling about her husband and how he used to make her crazy. We walked along for a few minutes before she suddenly turned into a small gateway and walked up to an old-looking house. "Here we are," she said softly. My heart started to beat quickly and I felt hot and uncomfortable. I kept wondering what the old lady wanted, and part of me was expecting her to pull out a big knife and try to kill me. Then, as she walked over to the garage, it dawned on me. She had a car that she wanted me to look at. "I am not a mechanic," I said as she started to unlock the garage door. The old lady stopped and looked into my eyes. "My husband had a car before he died, and I was hoping that you would buy it from me." "Oh, what was the car?" I asked excitedly. She seemed hesitant in answering this question, and so the feeling of an old lady with a big knife came back. "It's an old car. Maybe I was wrong to ask you," she said with a sad voice. I looked at her and said, "It's okay, I'm here now. I might as well take a quick look." The old lady smiled again as she lifted the garage door. As my eyes adjusted to the dark, I could see an old silver Audi 80 estate car. I started to think that it was a complete waste of my time, but as I looked more closely I could see that the car looked quite nice. The car was first made in 1977, and this was the limited edition 1979 edition. The paint was silver leaf, and the same paint used on the Rolls-Royce Silver Shadow, and it was in immaculate condition. The inside had red leather seats that looked as new as when they were first installed, and the carpets were still fluffy. I looked at the odometer, and it said a little over 4,000 miles. "Is this right?" I asked in a shocked voice. The old lady explained that the car had been sitting in the garage since her husband's death in 1985, and that she had bought the car but not used it much. I looked underneath the car, and it had many cobwebs, but was also in perfect condition. The tyres were perished, and I knew that the engine would not start. I was curious, however, and so I asked her how much she wanted for the car. The old lady looked doubtful and replied, £500? I didn't want the car, and I knew that it would probably cost lots of money to get it started, but I said okay. I don't know why I said okay, but there was just something about the car that made me feel sure. I gave the old lady £200 that I had in my pocket, and then went home to get the rest. The next day my mechanic friend went and transported the car to his workshop. He called me a few times and told me that he was repairing and changing, and in just 8 days later he delivered the car back to me. The car looked like it was new, and after being cleaned and the seats given a much-needed treatment, it even smelt like a new car. Everyone who saw the car admired it, and I shared my story of how I bought it many times with many people, but I would never forget the day it came into my life. End of part 1. Thanks for listening. See you again.